Hello and welcome to the programme. A funeral has been held for a 17-year-old Palestinian who was shot and killed by Israeli forces in the occupied West Bank. Palestinian factions have called a general strike to mourn for Ahmed al-Fayyed. Another teenager was seriously injured during the raid on a refugee camp in Jenin. It happened in the same area where Israeli forces killed Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh last week. Let's go straight to Imran Khan, who is outside Damascus Gate in occupied East Jerusalem. Imran, what more can you tell us about this strike, firstly?
Well, the raid happened in the early hours of Saturday morning, and that's where Amjad, the 17-year-old, was killed by Israeli forces. Another was critically wounded. The operation lasted about an hour that we're hearing, but still the Israelis are mounting these nighttime raids on a much more regular basis than they have been before. Now, the funeral has taken place in the last couple of hours. The mourners saying that they will get revenge on the Israeli forces for this particular attack and this killing. One of the Palestinian factions, Islamic Jihad, has claimed Amjad as a member of their ranks, and it's likely that they will intensify their fire. What normally happens is when the Israeli forces go into Jenin itself and then toward the refugee camps, there's an exchange of fire, the Israelis firing into the camp itself. And indeed, Jenin is where my colleague Shireen Abu Akleh was killed last week.
Stay with me, Imran, because more than 50 US politicians want the FBI to investigate the shooting of Shireen. Among them is the Republican Congressman Andre Carson. He's tweeted the following: "The killing of Al Jazeera reporter and fellow American Shireen Abu Akleh was not only a tragedy, it was an affront to press freedom and to all Americans." He went on to add, "We need answers and accountability from the Israeli government." Well, as Imran just said, Jenin is where Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh was shot and killed just a week ago. And the channel continues to demand a rapid, independent and transparent investigation. She was shot in the head by Israeli forces while she was on assignment. On the day of her funeral, Israeli forces stormed the procession, beat mourners, causing pallbearers to almost drop her coffin. And that didn't deter thousands of Palestinians from marching through occupied East Jerusalem to take part in her funeral and burial. Members of the international community have condemned her killing and continue to call for investigation. Abu Akleh was with Al Jazeera for 25 years, covering the story of the Israeli occupation. She was known as the voice of Palestine. Well, calls continue for there to be accountability for Shireen's death. How is Israel responding to these international pressures?
Quite frankly, it isn't. Israel hasn't said that they will open a new investigation. In fact, they're sticking to their guns. They're saying that they won't have an investigation by the Israeli military police. Now, the reason for that is quite simple. They would have to open a criminal investigation into a serving soldier who was on an active military operation. Politically, that's completely untenable. It's something the opposition would use to bash the government with. It's something that would be very unpopular amongst the Israeli public. It's something that simply they will not do. But this international pressure is building. The Americans, like you say, 57 lawmakers have signed a petition to try and get the FBI to come and investigate. However, that's caused some confusion here as well, because there is the idea that this should be an automatic investigation that's triggered by a death such as this. The FBI should be on the ground already, say many Palestinians. However, the Palestinian reaction is very interesting. They have always maintained that they knew that the Israelis would not mount an investigation. They're not disappointed by this, but they are increasing their calls for an independent international investigation to take place.
OK, thank you for that, Imran Khan, there from outside Damascus Gate in occupied East Jerusalem. Well, Amnesty International Secretary-General has condemned Israel's decision not to investigate the murder. In a tweet, Agnes Kalamard said the following: "It's an additional violation of Shireen's right to life and a clear violation of Israel's obligation under international law." One amongst many, she goes on to say, this is what repression and domination look like. Some lives simply don't matter.